Everything that's alive has an energy field. From our own electromagnetic field to our thoughts, to our emotions, to our, everything generates energy. From a healing point of view, the idea is that we want to maximise our potential. So in terms of the Mayan medicine, which is based on the sort of 5 elements of earth, water, fire, wind and space, the idea is to purify one's internal energy field and unite it with the external elements, and at the same time, in terms of the healer's role, is to channel energy from these 5 sources through one's body and then transmit this to the patient or the community or the sweat lodge or the ceremony. We do use 2 forms of diagnosis that have been used for sort of thousands of years by the Maya. The first one is the egg reading. So you take just a raw chicken egg, then you can either give to the patient to hold, and the energy of the patient goes into the egg, and we then take the egg, cleanse the aura of the patient, and then we break it into a glass of water, and the formation of the yolk, the white, gives us a reading, a radiography of the patient's emotional, physical, energetic state of being. Since we all exist at an energetic frequency that is unique to ourselves, we're emitting energy all the time. So when we hold the egg, because it's a semi-liquid, semi-solid membrane, it absorbs our energy, and then it creates a form that reflects our energetic frequency. So when that's broken into the glass of water, it produces a form that is unique to that individual in that moment of time. Exactly. Egg reading is done usually in conjunction with pulsing, so we pulse the radial artery with 3 fingers, much like the Chinese or the Tibetan, and applying different amounts of pressure with each finger. We can read again the organs and the system generally to understand how that system is running, if it's running fluidly, if there are blockages or problems, if there's tension. Of course, every person is different, every situation is different that we find ourselves in, so if there are emotional blockages or energetic blockages, then we would do some talking therapy, then we would do some energy healing, some cleansing. So the patient would lie down on a table, and we would hold the back of their head and work on the 3 main channels. Then we would do some abdominal massage, potentially to release tension, and depending on the patient, if they have injury or tension, we would do massage or manipulation. Then we would look at the diet, daily practices, and then really an in-depth understanding of one's state of mind and where one is going wrong within oneself. So it's a very intuitive approach, but what we try and do is figure out what the first priority is. Often we'll go to a new place, or we'll go to a house or an old church or somewhere, and we'll get a sensation of an energy field in this place, which is built up. For example, take this house, it's 250 years old. There'll be 10, 12 different families here. Each family that lived here will leave a certain kind of energetic trace along with them, so that will be embedded in the energy. When I was about 3.5, my parents separated, and I went to live in a tiny little village called Stone Street with my mum, stepdad and brother. And I would say, I call this the rude awakening, but in a sense this was my introduction into sort of non-physical reality. On moving to this house, I discovered that there were some very heavy energies in the house. It transpired that my stepfather's first wife, Glenys, had died in the house. She was a schizophrenic and tried to kill her children when they were young, so they were sent away, grew up with the grandparents. So she lived in this house and was nursed by my stepfather, and eventually she got breast cancer and she died in the house. a very unhappy woman essentially. So when some years later we moved into the house, I could feel her presence very, very strongly. And if you like, this was my sort of initiation into this whole journey. For the 10 years that I lived there, till I was about 15, I would be in constant sort of conflict with her energy. I felt like she was a very angry presence around the house. My brother remembers feeling like a choking sensation. My mum later developed breast cancer also in the house. And I would wake up often in the morning with little scars on my body, and often I'd feel very sick. I'd be up vomiting, I'd be in a lot of pain. The doctors were called, no one could really understand what was happening. The doctors said I was hallucinating, having nightmares, the usual stuff. But of course, no one really understood what was happening. What's interesting with the Mayan culture is, because they're very connected with the earth, they farm their corn, their maize, the beans. They make their houses out of mud. They cook on open fires. They have ceremonies running throughout the year. They're very connected with the natural world. The big difference between Maya medicine and Western medicine is that health and disease are looked at very, very differently in both cultures. So for the Mayas, the most important thing is your spirit. You know, are you alive? Are you? Do you feel that your energy is aligned with itself and that you are living your true destiny? So if you are, you're healthy. And if you're not, then you're probably not. And so this whole idea of spiritual alignment and empowerment and living one's truth, I think, is fundamental in understanding what health means for the Maya. Whereas in the West, we would not look at things that way. We would look at the body and possibly the mind a little bit, and if you're lucky, the emotional state of being of a person, and we would say, okay, what's going wrong at a cellular level or a physiological or psychological level. Whereas the Mayas, it's not so complicated in a sense. You know, if you fall ill, it's because you lost your spirit and you lost your true purpose, and you've got to find it again. The role of the Mayan medicine as well, very much in the Chinese model, your shaman or your healer, it's his job or her job to keep you healthy throughout your life. And if you get sick, he or she has not done his job well. So people will come for regular cleansings, treatments, and then when issues arise or when there are problems, they're nipped in the bud, so to speak. So you're maintaining a great energy flow throughout your life. Whereas I think in the West, what we tend to do is, live quite unhealthy lifestyles, doing jobs maybe we don't enjoy, and kind of lose our spiritual energy somewhere, and then we get sick, and then we go and see the doctor. At which point, of course, it's too late, because at that point you may have developed something, very difficult to treat. Whereas in the Mayan world, you would never leave it that long. Back to my original point, are you living your destiny? Is the question that needs to be asked every day, right? Because if we don't know, then none of the other stuff is going to work.